Mm. Welcome, everyone. Our class today is going to be really soothing, really slow, so that we can feel more as we move. And yesterday, the people here at Konalani went to visit Mauna Kea, the most massive mountain in the entire world, because she formed from the very bottom of the ocean, one slow oozing of lava flowing over millions of years. And this process is really slow, and we're going to move in that way, just letting our bodies ooze and form majestic mountains. But it's gonna take time. We're not gonna rush into anything, so that we can really feel this process emerging with each breath. Aloha, Annapurna. Welcome. So if you haven't already, can take a quarter turn to your left, so your head points to the right. And slowly recline onto the back and just start to connect to the feeling of being supported and relaxed. And then imagine this ultimate potential energy of being able to express yourself slowly over time to form something really majestic and beautiful. From this unmoving space of reclining on the back, just imagine all of the energy that it would take to form the world's tallest mountain. And it would just have to happen one moment at a time. And before we move, just start to notice your breath flow. Allow the breath to illuminate your inner landscape. So with each natural inhale and exhale, can feel a little more, can understand a little bit more what's happening inside of you. And try to naturally slow the breath by relaxing. So the slowing down comes with no forcefulness. Rather, it comes from release. See if you can release the grip of the mind, and the grip of the body. Allowing the breath to flow more evenly and fully through you. Start to notice the bottom of the exhale when the breath empties out, and there's this sense of sinking in to the ground beneath you, sinking into yourself and your body. And then sinking into this visual of how the Hawaiian Islands formed from the bottom of the ocean. This slow, oozing, warm, potential energy, building and building over millions of years. And with each exhale, as you empty and sink, imagine you can connect to that ocean floor so much closer to the center of the earth. And we'll just take a few more breaths like this before we start to express our potential energy without changing the breath. Just imagine with each breath you're gathering energy. You're literally drinking in life force, prana. Imagine it starting to charge you and illuminate, animate. And if you're following along with the playlist, now is a great time to hit play on the first song and just make sure it's set to loop, and I'll tell you when to go to the next track. And try to stay tuned into this slow, oozing breath that continues to connect you to the grounded center of the earth. And then just gently start to circle the toes and make really small circles at first. Notice the weight rolling around on the heels, starting to naturally lubricate the entire posterior chain of the body. As the toes continue to circle, notice a sense of the feet and ankles enlivening. And then slow down your movement by half. Move half as fast, twice as slow. And just notice if slowing the pace allows you to start to have this sense of slowly oozing, right? This just warm, flowing sensation that takes its time, literally millions of years. So we're going to move really slow. And as you continue to circle the feet at whatever size is comfortable, start to trace your awareness along the whole back side of the body. And maybe you can sense the legs gently rotating in the hip sockets. Notice any shifts in the pelvis, a gentle rocking. And if you notice the pelvis rocking, Then bring your awareness to the spine. You can change the direction of your circles at this point. And just start to notice the subtle shifts in the spine as the pelvis pulls forward. You may feel a little more space in the low back. As the feet flex and the pelvis pushes closer to the head, you may notice the low back flattening slightly. Just become really interested in these little changes in the spine. And then try to trace the sensation all the way up to the back of the head. And if the feet are getting tired, experiment with really small, or actually no, even slower circles, moving so slow that the muscles get a little break, but you can still feel the connection all the way up the back of the body, wrapping around the back of the skull. And then just pause, and maybe that pause comes as a relief. You can just feel that oozing nature of the backside of the body, almost like melting butter or coconut oil if you don't do butter. Just feel that softening, that spreading. And instead of feeling like a pool, try to keep feeling that quality of the actual melting, that active quality, even though you're barely moving. We'll go through a similar process with the arms. So just start by rubbing the thumb across the fingertips and notice that tactile sensation, so soft, so subtle, but you can really bring so much awareness to it. And then allow the hands to soften and just start to roll the palms up and down. And start by noticing the sensation of the hands and the wrists on the floor. Gentle massage. And then still noticing hands and wrists, see if you can expand your awareness. Just see the whole arm. Notice how it rotates externally as the palms lift, and rotates internally as the hands come face down. The next time the palms, the arms externally rotate so the palms are face up, slowly start to snow angel the arms overhead and feel all the points of contact along the arms dragging along the floor. And then the arms, whenever you notice like a sticky point, just pause. We're going to do this a few times, so there's no need to rush. And just gently start to roll the palms, internally rotating the arms as you snow angel them down. So there's two things happening. And we'll play between those two motions a couple times, externally rotating the arms as we sweep them up, and really let them be heavy on the ground so that there's no unnecessary exertion. And then flip the palms away from you as you glide the arms down. Let them be heavy, even if it's a little less smooth. One more time on your own, and again, move twice as slow. Doesn't that make you feel like you're accomplishing something? Way to go, you're moving twice as slow. And the next time the arms start to descend towards the body, That will be the last round, and you can plant the hands at either side of the hips and gently start to glide the heels towards the sits bones, and try to feel the back of the legs helping so your hip flexors can be relaxed. Set the soles of the feet down and let the soles of the feet ooze and melt a little so you can feel as much surface area contacting the earth as possible. Just pause for a moment at center. Observe a natural breath and the space between each inhale and exhale. Slowly start to glide the heels even more towards the sits bones until the feet start to hover. And now that we're expressing larger movements, imagine this slow oozing sensation starting to build, starting to grow, starting to create mass as the feet slowly float up in such an effortless way, just potential energy expressing itself. And once the ankles make it over the hips and you can have a generous bend in the knees, allow the knees to sink in towards the chest any amount, and then slowly allow the knees to drip wide towards the edges of the mat, kind of like happy baby but with no hands. And then point the knees up towards the sky so the feet land back to that starting point. We're going to make our way through those hip circles a few times. So it starts by allowing the pressure to slowly grow in the legs so they want to fill and expand and ooze upward. And then allow the knees to get heavy and sink wide alongside the body, externally rotating thighs. And then slowly circle the knees forward and together plant the feet down. Just take one more on your own. And if it changes as your body wants to express it differently, you are the creative expression of your life force. Let that emerge. The next time the feet settle down, push into hands, shoulders, and the soles of feet to gently allow the pelvis to ooze up. And then release one vertebra at a time, melting the muscles of the back onto the ocean floor. As pelvis sits down, let the feet bounce a couple times, and they might want to change the direction of the toes or the space between the feet, and then try that again. Letting hips slowly lift, feeling this mountain starting to build from the bottom up, taking up more space. And then just let everything gently release and give yourself the opportunity to again change the feet. Unless that felt perfect, and then don't. One last time, take your time. Tuck the chin a little bit, letting the back of the neck and the back of the skull melt and expand. Allow the knees to drift a little wide towards the pinky toes. Just notice how that activates the glutes gently and evenly. And then set one vertebra down at a time. Again, connecting to that sense of oozing and melting. As the pelvis releases, slowly snow angel the arms overhead, flipping the palms as you go, just like we did before. And then start to push into the left foot. And as you push into the left foot, just notice how the body starts to shift. The pelvis lifts and tips towards the right. The left side of the back starts to peel off the floor. And just follow that chain of events. Don't fight it. Just see what happens. Keep pushing into the left foot. And then start to release that pressure. And so you reverse that chain of events. The arm releases the shoulder, the back, and then the hip. And do this a few times. Or do it extremely slow one time. It's up to you. But just really try to follow what the body wants to do with that simple pressure, that simple emerging from the foot. The next time you start to roll towards the right, allow the legs to stack and just pause on your right side for a moment with the knees bent. Place the left hand in front of the heart. We'll go through a similar process. Notice how as you extend the legs, it's a little harder to balance on the side without the left hand. Start to gently melt the left arm so that you roll towards the belly but not onto it. And then just take a few rewinds of that, stacking hips and shoulders with the pressure of the arm, and then melting the arm so you roll forward, massaging the right side of the body. Because this sequence is so slow, I don't want you to feel asymmetrical as we finish it before we go to the second side. So we'll just do the second side now. Slowly bend the knees to where you were before. Gently push into the left hand so that you can roll onto the back to that starting point. Arms overhead, and now start to push into the right foot. Letting the body slowly roll towards the left side, but then deflate the right leg so you return to center. So take your time exploring that, and if you have sensitive joints, because we're going so slow and taking so much time, feel free to grab some blankets to put over your yoga mat if you feel like that would be more comfortable for you. And now that you know what the next expression is, when you feel ready to move on, push a little more into the right foot so you can roll completely onto the left side of the body, away from the screen, right hand in front of heart. Extend the legs, and then start to release body weight into the right hand, rolling slightly forward. And then push into the right hand, rolling slightly back. Bring some extra awareness to the left shoulder, and just make sure it feels comfortable with whatever angle it's at, and there's no tension in the neck. Sometimes pointing the arm forward slightly is just a little kinder on that joint. And then push into the hand, rolling all the way onto the back. Arms overhead, bend the knees. And now a little more fluidly, push into the left foot, rolling onto the right side. Extend the arms, left hand in front of you, and then with the left hand, slowly control your roll onto your belly. If it's going to drive you crazy that you're off your mat, you can awkwardly scooch onto your mat, or you can stay off your mat. Both are fine. Extend both arms overhead, and then slowly take that same trajectory as the snow angels, circling the arms around and back, and then reach the arms up and away from the head to slowly lift the body. And then keep the body lifted, but circle the arms back to where they came from. Make a diamond with the hands and lower the forearms down. If this isn't comfortable on the neck and shoulders, you can walk the hands in a little bit and just make sure you have enough support there. Push down gently into the hands and the elbows so there's a lot of space in the shoulder and the neck, and lengthen the head away from the tailbone. Gently reach the right foot away from the head, letting the right leg lift in modified Shalabhasana, and then set the right foot down and switch legs. And now that you know the movement, try to move extra slow and feel the whole leg and posterior chain working to reach that each foot away from you and up. And then the next time the left leg lowers, let the elbows start to slide away from you so you can melt the head down. Stack the hands and just pause in Makarasana to observe a diaphragmatic breath. And we'll repeat that series of poses. So glide hands forward, big sweep open. Let the hands help peel the heart away from the mat. Keep the body lifted. Circle the arms forward, elbows down, diamond hands. And then just lift one leg at a time. And then stack the hands, melt elbows wide, diaphragmatic breath. And we'll do that just one more time. So reach the arms forward, gentle gliding circle with the hands. Reach back and peel the heart off the mat. Imagine the entire body supporting this movement. No tension in the low back. And then slowly circle the arms forward. Set the diamond hands down and the elbows, and push down to reach the heart up out of the shoulder girdle. Lift right leg evenly, and then the left. Place the left leg down and start to drag the elbows in towards you so the diamond of your hands is right underneath your heart. Keep your knees down and just gently start to push down into the forearms to lift the whole upper body. And so feel the shoulders puff up and expand. Feel the pelvis gently rising, and then reverse that motion, melting the hips down, letting the shoulders soften slightly. And then push down, noticing the buoyancy in first the shoulders and then the pelvis. So modified forearm plank. Just take a few slow repetitions to energize the arms and the upper body and feel that strength connecting down into the core, down into the pelvis, and maybe even the legs. The next time you release down, release the whole body down and slide the hands alongside the chest. Gently push into the hands to melt the hips towards the heels, oozing back to Bhaktasana. And then reverse that motion. pushing down into the shins, rounding the spine, feeling the energy build from the legs up towards your arcing spine, rounding in a cat pose towards the wrists. And then tuck the toes under, walk the hands underneath the shoulders, and if you're off your mat, you'll travel onto your mat. If you're on your mat, you'll stay in place. Hover the knees and slowly cross the left hand over the right and bring the legs together, and then uncross the arms and step the feet underneath you. And next time we do this, if you're on your mat, you can just lift opposite arm and leg in a slow motion jaguar. And so for those of you traveling off of your mat or brave enough to do so, reverse that motion, crossing right arm behind the left and bringing the legs together, and then uncrossing the arm so the left arm steps wide and then the left leg can step wide into like a wide, buoyant, hovering table. And so just take one more, traveling back onto your mat or moving in place, and then drop the knees, melt the hips to the heels, keep the toes tucked under for a little more control. Let the hands slide away from you and observe a breath cycle. Remember that breath cycle at the beginning of class where the bottom of the exhale just allowed you to hollow out and melt and ooze into the earth. See if you can do that in this position. And we'll play with a slow motion waving vinyasa. If you already know this, you're welcome to go at your own pace. Otherwise, listen carefully because it'll be extra special if you do. Gently start to push into the big toes. As you do that, notice a sense of energy in the thighs and buoyancy in the pelvis, and then keep pushing. Allow the spine to round in flexion, slowly moving towards cat pose, and let all of that energy come from the feet pushing you forward. Everything else just follows. Once you're in cat pose, start to pull on the mat, pulling the hands towards the legs, and allow the spine to lengthen, allow the heart to peek forward, and let the belly gently lower into a glorified cow pose. So think more cow than up dog. And then push into the hands, sending hips back to heels, back to where we came from. Once you have the hang of it, do it on your own. Otherwise, I'll talk you through it. So slowly push into big toes, push down into knees, and let that pressure start to build in the legs, allowing the spine to arc, letting all of that energy send you forward into cat pose. Push down and away with the hands, and notice how that helps support the front of the spine a little bit more. And then drag the hands back, letting the spine lengthen, let the belly lower into glorified cow. And then take one more on your own and move twice as slow. And try to feel that sense of building and oozing from the legs, expressing itself all the way up through the spine. Keep a soft bend in the elbows so there's no tension in the arms. And then we'll all meet in our glorified cow pose. Soften slightly and just start swaying the belly from side to side, letting the hands start to paw out and relaxing through the shoulders and through the hips. And then press the hips back. And now instead of rolling forward, we're going to take that same action, but we're going to roll up like camel pose. So start to push down into the legs and drag the hands back towards the knees, letting the power of the legs stack the pelvis, and then one vertebra at a time. Head and neck come up last. And then slowly scoop the air up in front of you, reaching the arms up into a really natural, easeful camel pose. And then reverse that, melting back down, hips to heels, bow. And now, as you do that same motion of pushing down to allow the hips to hover, we'll add a twist. So as the spine slowly stacks, reach the left arm forward, up, and then gently back, letting the twist come from pushing down into the knees and reaching the left hand back. And then melt the hips back, circle the arm forward. Same thing, other side. Push down, press hips forward, reach the right arm forward, up and back, and let the whole right side of the body twist and expand. Take a couple more on your own at whatever pace is comfortable. If it's comfortable for you, let the hips lift as the arm lifts, so there's that whole chain reaction. And the next time you lift, step the right foot forward. And then just like we did in Ustrasana, start to melt down, releasing inside of the right foot. And if there's not space for that, walk the right foot over. And then just let the thigh bones start to ooze away from one another so the hips naturally melt with no force. Can take a couple of big circles to release the hips. And then push down into the legs to slowly rise up just like we did before. We'll stack the spine just like Ustrasana, reaching the arms up in the first round for Anjaneyasana. Gently glide the knee forward and let the heart lift up and back. And then send the hips towards the heels as you melt forward, so you've got a lot of buoyancy in the pelvis. Soften the front knee. And now this time, as we push down to slowly lift up, we'll add in the twist. So push down, let the hips stack, reach the left arm forward, up and back, opening away from the leg. And then we'll repeat this 2 more times on each side. And move really slow so you can feel the connection between the legs pushing down and everything stacking and building from there. So it's like the arms aren't even doing anything. It's all happening in the legs. And then the arms are just directing the energy of the legs. And the next time you twist to the right, pause for a moment in the twisted lunge. And then release the left hand towards the left edge of the mat. Weight in the right foot and left hand. Glide the left knee forward and place the left sit bone down. Modified Urdhva Matsyendrasana. And just twist to the right. There's a lot of space between the right foot and the knee, so it's a nice, easy seat. And then turn towards that short edge of the mat that's right there. Extend the legs. And just pause in Dandasana. We'll should be facing the opposite way. And we'll slowly recline back to the beginning. But don't worry, we're not going to do everything that slow the second time. So just take a moment to reconnect to that sense of being ultimate potential energy, patiently expressing itself over time, not forcing anything, just letting our bodies ooze into new shapes. If you're following along with the music, you can go to the next track, Namaste. And you're also welcome to have a sip of water before we do our second sequence. And so just for teaching purposes, because most of our movements were symmetrical, we'll be able to move through them a lot faster. And then when we get to that lunge at the end, we'll of course keep it nice and balanced. And so just start with one extra slowest one yet, foot circle. And then snow angel, the arms. And this time, as the arms float away from you, turn the gaze to one side to stretch the neck. And then just take one more snow angel, lifting the gaze as arms go up. And turning the gaze the opposite way as arms go down. Keep the arms alongside the body and slowly start to glide the heels towards the sits bones as effortlessly as possible. Set the feet down. And then draw knees towards the chest, allowing the legs to unfold and reach towards the sky. Big knee circle, melt the knees outside the body. Circle the knees away from you, slowly back together. And this time, we don't need to set the feet down. We'll take a couple circles, keeping the legs lifted. The next time the knees draw in towards you and wide, grab the backs of the thighs like happy baby and kick the thighs into the hands, and just notice a sense of spaciousness in the hip sockets. Notice what fires in the pelvis and the glutes to allow the space to become more buoyant. And we'll take one more hip circle and see if you can keep that same sense of spaciousness and buoyancy as the knees circle away from you. Shins draw together and back in. Keep the shins together, and as the knees pull towards the chest, try to use that momentum to lift the tailbone away from the ground. Reverse crunch. And then just take one more leg circle. Set the feet down, setting up for bridge pose. Push down into hands, feet, and shoulders to gently lift one vertebra at a time. Melt the back of the neck and the back of the skull. And then melt one vertebra down at a time. Feeling the whole body working together to support you in these fluid movements. Slowly circle the arms overhead. Push into the right foot, slowly shifting the weight onto the left side of the body. Extend both legs, right hand in front of you. And now we're going to add on with some rolling. So first, just bring weight into the front hand, slowly roll onto the belly and extend the right arm overhead. And then we'll play with rolling back onto the mat by lifting the right leg, crossing it over the body, feeling the connection into the core start to open the pelvis and then the chest, and then reach that right foot towards the right corner of the mat, slowly letting the whole body peel open into a big X on the mat. And we'll reverse that. So now slowly reach the right leg up and over the left leg and away from you as much as possible in a big X to roll back onto the belly. And do that a couple more times on this same side, just allowing that pattern to emerge. And if this is really challenging, be compassionate, because it does take a lot of core integration. Alternatively, you can bend the knees and push into the right foot to roll onto the belly, just like we did in that first round. And then from the side instead of the belly. You can pull the weight back onto the back. So if that integration's not there yet, take the modification instead. And the next time you roll onto the back, we'll see how well the left leg integrates into our body. So lift the left leg, cross it over the right, and pull the left leg away from you so it pulls the hip, it pulls the belly button, it slowly pulls the left armpit, and you can roll all the way onto the belly to the other side of the mat. And then reverse by lifting left leg up and over the right and slowly letting that pull you. And then go through a few cycles of this, and I'll talk through the modification just in case. So with knees bent and arms overhead, you'll push into the left foot, roll onto the right side, and then you'll extend the legs and glide the left leg back to pull you onto your back from your side instead of from on your belly, because that's a lot harder. And the next time you roll onto your back, we'll take one more roll the opposite direction, so we'll meet on our bellies closer to the computer. So right leg crosses over, let it drag you onto your belly. Option to glide onto your mat right now, or we'll make our way onto our mat a little bit later from all fours. So now we can work with that back bending sequence. Snow angel the arms around you and gently reach the hands away, letting the arms pull on the shoulders to slowly activate the muscles in the back, and walk through that chain, letting more and more muscles on the back fire up to support you in this modified Bhujangasana. And then circle the arms forward, elbows down and wide, fingertips touch in a big diamond. And this time, push down into the elbows, letting the collarbones separate, and then start to sink into the arms. So there's a sense of melting towards the arms, and even like shrugging shoulders up towards ears slightly. And then go back into the puffy, expanded, oozing upward, modified Bhujangasana. And just take one more of those. And the next time you lift into the upward, supported, spacious version, not that I'm biased or anything, we'll add on that Shalabhasana. So reach the right leg back, letting the leg extend from the hip socket, maybe even noticing the front of the core lengthening, and then bend the right knee. Option to reach back for the right foot, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Just gently kick the foot into the hand, peeling the heart up. Release at any time. And then we'll repeat that whole cycle for the second side. So stack hands, elbows wide, melt the forehead, diaphragmatic breath. And then dive the arms forward, circle the arms back, and peel the heart away from the mat, noticing if more muscles are starting to come aboard to make this easier. And then slowly circle the arms forward, diamond arms, push down. We don't need to repeat that shoulder shruggy thing, but try to replicate the spaciousness in the head, neck, and shoulders. And then slowly reach the left foot back, and then bend the left knee. Put a little extra weight in the right arm. Option to grab outside of the left ankle and just gently kick foot to hand, opening across the whole left side of the body. It's okay to lean over to the right so that you have more support in the right arm. And then slowly release the foot, release the hand, bring both hands back to that diamond. And then tuck the toes under, keep the knees down, push down into the elbows and knees to slowly hover pelvis and shoulders. Set everything down and then readjust where the elbows are, perhaps bringing them closer together, wider, closer towards the navel, and then repeat that puffing up. Option this time to hover the knees if the body wants to express itself in that way. And then drop the knees, keep toes tucked under, let the hips glide back to the heels. And then push down into the knees, slowly rolling forward into table. Hover the knees. If you're on the mat, you can just take those slow motion leopards. If you're off the mat, cross right hand behind left, bring the feet together towards the mat, and then uncross the hands and step the left foot forward, kind of like the grapevine. And then go back the way you came and take a couple of those. And if you're on your mat, I suppose at this point, because your whole body's not pressed against the floor, it's okay to start to explore. I find it easier to cross my hands but not my feet, but really anything goes as long as it's comfortable. Next time you're on the mat, drop the knees, melt the hips to the heels, let the whole body ooze and spread out in Bhaktasana. And we'll be revisiting our waving vinyasas from Bhaktasana to glorified cow. And we'll have an option to kick it up a notch, going from down dog to up dog. So for the first round, let's all start in Bhaktasana. Just to trace that pathway, push down into the big toe, down into the knees, down into the hands, slowly letting the pelvis become buoyant and the spine round. Push extra into the hands and push the hands away, activating the whole front side of the body as the shoulders come over the wrists. And then pull on the mat, lengthening the heart forward. Notice the shoulder blades sliding down the back, little spring in the arms, bend the elbows. And then send hips back to heels, and you're welcome to repeat just like that. Or if you want to try the next evolution, hover the knees. Send the hips back to the heels like a leapfrog, and then push into the legs, slowly rounding forward to a puffy plank, so like cat pose and plank combined. And then drop the knees, pull on the mat to that glorified cow. And this time, press the hips back to the heels, and then hover the legs and push all the way back into down dog or the leapfrog, whichever feels best on the legs. And then from either of those positions or Bhaktasana, push down into the feet, start to allow that energy to round the spine, puffing up over the shoulders, shifting the weight. And then your choice, knees up or down, pull on the mat, letting the whole front of the spine lengthen. Think more plank than up dog, so the low back stays nice and supported. And then let's all drop our knees and press hips back to heels. Push down into the knees, drag the hands back slowly, rising up into Astrasana. Sweep the arms back and up. And then melt forward, and we'll grow our Astrasana in that same way, but we'll add a twist. So start to push down and reach the right arm forward, and as the back starts to bend, reach the right arm up and back, letting the body twist, and then slowly circle the arm forward, release the hips back, and do it again the second way, twisting away from the screen. Just do one more either side. And then reach both arms up, shift the weight into the right knee, and slowly guide the left leg forward with control. And then melt back down, just like you did in Astrasana, planting hands inside the left foot. Walk the left foot over to the left and melt the hips towards the mat any amount. And then just start to circle the pelvis really slowly, making big circles and trying to avoid any sense of stretching. Instead, try to find a fluidity and an ease. And then center the weight and push down to slowly rise up into our central Anjaneyasana, just neutral back bend. Let the momentum carry the arms behind you and then slowly circle the arms forward, melt back down. And then we'll repeat that, adding on the twist. So as the spine slowly expresses itself, reach the right arm forward, up, and back, letting the body open. And then go the other way. And take one more either side. And then release the hands inside of the left foot. And before we go back to the beginning, let's just play with something in standing. So tuck back toes, lift back knee, walk hands over the right, and turn all 10 toes to the right so you're in a wide straddle. Bend the knees deeply and just shift the weight gently from side to side. Remember those rolls as you stretched one leg at a time and it pulled the whole rest of the body. Try to replicate that here by pushing into one foot and notice how everything slowly shifts the other way. And then bring the weight to center. Push evenly into both feet. Keep the knees nice and supple. Bounce the knees a couple of times to spring the hips up and down. And then push into the feet, slowly stacking the spine, just like we did in Astrasana and Anjaneyasana. And then heel toe the feet together just slightly so you feel a lot of support in the pelvis, and you can close your eyes, soften your knees, and just relax at center for a moment with no effort. We're not going to do anything challenging here, but I do want you guys to notice how we can stand, we can do standing poses, and we can still find the sense of oozing therapeutic movement without creating any stress. So let's explore that a little bit. Extend both legs, and as you push down into the legs, have the sense of the legs filling and expanding and letting that expand through the spine and eventually overflowing, so the arms just want to express themselves wide. Feel that connection from feet pushing down and up, all the way up through the X of the body. And then imagine the whole right side of the body starting to melt. So bend the right knee and just let everything in that right side start to relax and soften, like everything evenly crumbling, so you don't feel it in one muscle. The right arm can slowly drip down and even graze the body, just a soft tactile feedback. And then push into the right leg, coming back to center. And do that same thing on the left side. And make any adjustments you need to. Widen the feet, turn the toes out slightly so there's no sensation in the knees as you melt here. You want the knees to feel really supported. And once you've got the hang of it, gently go from side to side, just exploring the sense of softening in one side, but still feeling supported from the inside out. The next time you melt over to the right, turn the right toes out to the short edge of the mat. Let the left heel spin out slightly. And then just pause in this effortless Utthita Parshva Konasana. Just imagine the entire body supporting this pose from the inside out. And And then push into the right foot, reaching up, turn the toes to the center. And then we'll do the same thing on the second side. So start to melt through the left knee, let the left hand start to drip down, and then turn the left toes out to the left side of the mat, drop the right heel out just a little bit, and then push into the feet and just softly melt up and over to the left, feeling simultaneously strong and supported and just totally free of any tension. And then push into the right foot, slowly drop the right hip, melt the hands down to where we came from, and then slide the right knee forward, bring the right hip down, and gently twist into the left leg, modified Urdhva Matsyendrasana. And then turn, extend the legs, and pause for a moment in Dandasana. And soften the knees so there's no tension in the posterior chain, and just gently allow the body to melt. And that might mean you're here, or it might mean you're here, but melting is free of tension. So there's no sense of trying to go beyond your natural expression. And then push into the heels and allow the body to start to energize. And as you lean back slightly, notice any support in the quads and the low abdominals. And then bend the knees, and we'll repeat this a few times. As you bend forward the next time, try to feel the front edge of the body contracting, and then use that strength to support you as you unfold and lean back a little bit more. And so we'll play between these two shapes, creating strength in the front of the body as we fold, and then using that strength to control our way down to our back. At any point, you can recline completely, or you can take a couple more springs to just play with storing and releasing energy. And we can all meet on our back and just observe the breath. Maybe it's changed from moving a little bit more, and that's okay, that's natural. Just observe it. And then just try to soften and make a little more contact with your yoga mat as the whole body softly melts. And we will, even though the whole class was kind of like a cool down, we'll have just a few cool down movements and then some time for meditation and shavasana. And so at the beginning of class, before everyone was here, I invited people to have some kind of block or meditation cushion, something to be able to support the sacrum. And if you don't have that, it's okay, you can still do the movements. But if you've got something like that, have it nearby. And we'll start with the slowest foot circle yet. Imagine just massaging all the joints of the ankle, knee, and hip in one fell swoop. And then big circle with the arms. And as the arms float away from you, gaze to the right. And then take one more to balance out the neck. Press the hands down, glide the heels in, and gently press down into the feet. Grab your support and place it underneath the sacrum. And just take a moment to let the front of the body open. I recommend the bottom two heights just to keep things really chill, even if it feels like nothing's happening. you are getting a nice, easeful inversion. And you can stay here for as long as you want. The next thing is going to be exploring those hip circles in this inversion, or anything else that you want to do with your legs. So if you're excited to try that, I'll show you the pathway one time. You'll slowly bring knees to chest, letting the legs expand to the sky, and then drop the knees nice and wide towards the armpits. Pause in any of these steps along the way. The first time the knees come wide, press the hands against the back of the thighs just to make sure there's a lot of support in the pelvis and hip socket, and then release the hands and complete that circle. You can take a few more of those circles, or you can extend the legs up towards the sky for Viparita Karana. You can even bring soles of feet together and just float in Baddha Konasana. Can be nice to just gently shake the legs like jello to melt away any tension. And then gently start to succumb to gravity, just melting the legs towards that initial bridge pose, and just notice how weightless the legs feel after that exploration. Ever so gently press into the feet to lift hips, move the block out of the way. Draw a big circle with the arms, and just pause with the arms at T at first. We'll complete the snow angels in a moment. Let the knees gently start to drop over to the left for a gentle twist. And we'll add on the snow angels with just the right arm, because it'll be really good for the right side of our neck. So gaze to the right, away from the knees, and make a snow angel just with the right arm reaching up and overhead. And notice the relationship between the right shoulder and the right ear. And then as you snow angel the arm down, gaze to the left and notice how that relationship between shoulder and ear changes. And just take a few sweeps like this, just gently massaging away tension in the top of the shoulder. Check in with the knees. If they're not comfortable, you can change the way you're expressing the twist in the bottom half of your body, stacking the legs, or whatever is comfortable. If you find a moment of this exploration that feels really like it's serving you, feel free to pause and let the breath massage you from the inside out. And then float the right arm to T. Push down into shoulders and hands to slowly roll the feet to neutral. And then let the knees gently drop over to the right. And we'll do the same thing on the second side. And first make sure the legs feel comfortable. If you've got your block nearby, it can be sort of nice underneath the right leg so you're not in too deep of a twist, but that's up to you. Gaze to the left, and we'll be working with the left arm. So turn the left palm face up and slowly slide the arm overhead, noticing the space between left ear and shoulder. And then simultaneously roll the head to the right as you glide the right arm down and away. And just take a few snow angels to massage the left side of the neck. Feel free to pause at any point. And when you're ready to return to neutral, reach arms to T and gently hover the knees to center. And just to balance out all those twists, pull the knees into the chest. You're welcome to do that just with the strength of the core, or you can wrap your arms around the back of the thighs or the front of the shins and gently hover head towards the legs. And then grab behind the legs and gently start to roll on the spine as long as that's comfortable. Just giving yourself a little massage as you make your way up to seated for meditation. And take your time, but when you arrive, you can pause your music, take a sip of water, and then take some time to support yourself. Imagine your meditation seat like this tremendous, magnificent mountain that has literally taken millions of years to form. Start to connect to the legs, just feeling them supportive and grounded and perhaps spacious and buoyant. And trace the pathway up from the pelvis along the spine. And notice any sense of effortless support. It took a long time to build this mountain, but now that it's here, it is strong, it is enduring, and the work is over. And just do a little bobble with your head, like you're a bobblehead doll of yourself. That'd be a pretty funny Christmas present. And notice any sense of weightlessness through the neck. You can even test it a little by just gazing from side to side and notice if there's any sense of release in the upper trapezius, any tension we hold in the base of the neck, tops of the shoulders. And then just bring the head to center and allow yourself to start to sink in. Start to gently draw the breath to the heart center. Pause. And then let the exhale be very slow and soothing. The bottom of the exhale, notice any sense of simultaneously feeling really grounded and connected to the earth and really open and spacious. And we have just a few minutes to use the breath to massage our energetic heart center. And we'll attach the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. And imagine the mantra just like this oozing potential energy that we've been playing with. Just let it feel really natural, really slow. And let it just emerge with each breath, almost effortlessly. And I invite you to stay in this new mountain pose for as long as it serves you. And if and when it feels right for you, you're also welcome to melt fully and completely in Shavasana, letting the earth support you and letting yourself be in that space of pure potential without any expression. Take a moment to reconnect with that sensation of melting and oozing, and if you are reclined, start to feel the impulse to express yourself back to seated, and try to move in the way that we've cultivated throughout class, these slow oozing movements, feeling every step along the way and enjoying it just like a yoga pose. And when you eventually make your way to seated, we'll meet with our hands at the heart, an external gesture to symbolize what we've spent the past hour and a half doing. This connecting to our heart, to our ultimate potential, and just allowing that potential to gently and naturally express itself through our focus, our awareness, and our freedom. You can gently bow the head to that ultimate potential that rests within not just the heart, but truly every cell of your conscious being. And thank you so much for practicing so much yoga today. I think you'll sleep really well after that class. Have a great night, everybody, and I look forward to seeing most of you tomorrow, and to everybody else, I hope I see you real soon. Aloha.
I'll be in class for times that I can make.
Yay! Yeah, is it the second session, or will there be some times in that first session that you might be available?
I should be able to make it to meditation in the morning.
Perfect.
But then right after that, I have a few therapy sessions. So maybe I'll make it for some of the yoga, maybe not.
Great. Well, I'll be happy when I get to see you. Yay. Hi, Tammy. Good to see you and your Christmas tree.
Early Christmas tree event.
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks for coming. And thanks for coming, Kayla, and bringing Kaylee, right? Kayla and Kaylee, is that? Yeah. And a new fun dog.
That's Fancy. That's Kaylee's dog, Fancy.
Fancy. Oh, I love Fancy. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye, Amber. Good to see you. Aloha.